What's up, curious youngsters? If we're always wasting time doing useless things or watching millions of videos, ending up in those weird YouTube recommendations, why not spend a few minutes on Mr. Curiosity instead? Learning 30 totally epic facts that you'll forget in about 10 minutes. But these aren't just any facts. They're facts that will leave you completely amazed. Because of this and much more, these are 30 things you didn't know 5 minutes ago. 1. The heart is an extremely powerful organ. The pressure it creates pumping our blood could shoot it up to 10 meters if outside the body. To give you an idea, the power generated by a heart in a day is enough to move a car for 32 kilometers. But it's better to keep everything inside. That's how it's best. 2. Most of us need about 8 hours of sleep each night to stay healthy and have enough energy. But there are some who can sleep up to 12 hours or even more without anyone interrupting them. But there are also other people who only need 4 hours. This is caused by a mutation in the HDC2 gene, which controls sleep duration. Nature is amazing. For instance, among thousands of ant species, some can fill their rear part with water and sugar. And so, if at any moment this or another ant needs to feed, it can turn to this mixture. Don't worry, I'm not crazy. But did you know there's a place on Earth where rocks move by themselves? It's an arid and dry lake. Death Valley in California. Sometimes a minimal amount of rain manages to leave a thin layer of water that, on winter nights, turns into a thin sheet of ice. When the sun comes out, blocks of ice break off and, pushed by the wind, move and drag the rocks with them. One very striking fact about nature is that scorpions are the only animals that can commit suicide. They do this when they can't escape from an extremely dangerous situation such as a fire and use their own stinger to take their own life. Everyone knows that cats don't get along very well with water, but the reason for this is that cats come from the desert, where they didn't have much contact with water. They're not used to it, so they spend time licking and cleaning themselves with their tongues since they don't see water as necessary. You better take a bath, Whiskers. 7. If you like to eat well, tomatoes are a fruit that you can't leave out of your diet. Did you know there are over 10,000 types of tomatoes worldwide? Apparently, this fruit has the ability to grow in almost any condition. Planting tomatoes worldwide led to small differences, creating thousands of species. According to studies from the last decade, more than 30% of people living in this world have never made or received a phone call. This shows the great inequality that exists on this planet. In a way, unlike what many might think, when a person loses weight, they lose 80% of the fat through their lungs, since it turns into carbon dioxide and is expelled by our lungs. 10. Earth is both incredible and intimidating. If it wanted to wipe us out with natural disasters, it could do so instantly. For example, the 1960 mega earthquake in Chile is the largest magnitude earthquake ever recorded. It had a magnitude of 9.5 on the Richter scale. It lasted 8 minutes, caused a tsunami, and triggered several volcanoes. A true disaster. Johnny 11. Praying mantises have a unique auditory system among animals, which is an interesting nature fact. Surprisingly, these insects actually have ears in their thorax or chest, and also, it's just one and not two, so they don't really know where the sound is coming from. 12. Birds can fly on their own, but if we put a little dog or a nuclei on a plane, they can fly just like any tourist. Each year, over 2 million animals travel by air, according to airline data. Fly high, Dumbo. 13. If you like rare animals, you might like it. Ractodactylus lycaenus, the world's largest gecko, grows over 30 centimeters long and lives on New Caledonia in Oceania. 14. If you like adventures, you might find this fact interesting. Apparently, Asia is the most important continent for mountaineering, since it has 50 of the highest mountains on our planet. All right, welcome to the Himalayas. 15. There are countries that progress a bit slower than others. For example, France. It took a long time to end executions by guillotine, as the last was Hamida Dan Houdhobi. The same year, Star Wars: A New Hope debuted, 1977. 16. Although Adolf Hitler was one of the worst people in history, he did some good things. Among them, for example, one of the first laws he enacted in Germany as soon as he came to power was the prohibition of hunting and other animal protection laws. Well done, Mr. Hitler. 17. Things change throughout history, and we find that the video game company Nintendo originally spent many years making card games and other board games. 18. I'm sure that somewhere in your house every now and then you come across an ant and you wonder, how is it possible that there are so many of these insects on the planet? Well, apparently, according to scientific data, it's estimated that there are about 1.6 billion ants for every living human on our planet. That means there are billions of them. 19. I'm sure you've heard that it rains diamonds on other planets, and the truth is that on Jupiter and Saturn, there's a high chance that it actually rains diamonds. Their atmospheric properties cause carbon to crystallize and fall to the surface. 20. Humans tend to let their imagination run wild when it comes to building great monuments or sculptures, and that's how the statue known as Jatayu Earth Center looks. A 22-meter-long eagle in Kerala, India, is the world's largest bird sculpture. 21. In strange phobias, we find turophobia, which is the fear of cheese, huh? Yeah, I had the same look on my face. Those affected can't even see or smell cheese, as it triggers intense discomfort. Keep that cheese away from me. 22. If you like rabbits and traveling, you might be interested in this. Okunoshima Island, a small abandoned island in Japan, is known for its thousands of rabbits. Also, if you go on a tour around the island looking for food, they'll jump all over you. Pati. Titanint. Every time we see a photo or a documentary about those incredible pink animals known as flamingos, many of us think that the joint on their leg is the knee, but actually that's their ankle. Let's see if you knew that. 24. The lollipop, also called a sucker, is one of the best-selling candies ever. Behind this are many interesting facts. For example, Chupa Chups, the most internationally recognized brand, had its own logo, created by none other than the artist Salvador Dali, who was paid millions of euros for his great work. 25. If you ever visit Europe and you're near Poland, you might be interested in visiting the village of Zalipai, which is known worldwide for being completely painted with flowers. Wherever we look, there will be flowers. The most interesting thing is its origin, since the inhabitants used to paint the houses with flowers to cover the soot stains from their chimneys until it became a tradition. Nice details. Polish gentleman. 26. In extremely rare laws, but in this case not stupid, we find that in Queensland, Australia, it is illegal to have a rabbit as a pet, unless you're a magician and need it for work. And it's all to prevent this species from reproducing and causing a disaster in the country's crops and wildlife. 27, from the creators of We've Been Fooled JPG. We found out that the classic colorful Fruit Loop cereals, even though they come in different colors, all have the same flavor, huh? Yeah? You were sure you could taste a difference between the yellow ones and the red ones. But wasn't it all just your brain's creativity at work? Did sure saw. Miniature horses are no longer just for zoos or farms. A couple of years ago in the United States, several little horses started to appear. Inside airports, huh? I had the same expression. They're really good for helping nervous or anxious passengers calm down while they wait for their flight. They work as therapy horses. I need a pony 29, although nobody really knows why. Baby alligators hatch from eggs at different temperatures depending on their sex. Males are at higher temperatures while female alligators are at lower temperatures. 30. With cell phones becoming more advanced and having massive storage spaces, people nowadays take a lot, and I mean a lot, of photos. In fact, there are so many that it's estimated that 10% of all the photos ever taken in history were taken in the last 12 months. Before I go, let me say hello to some subscribers. First of all, a big shout out to Amphorus207, who left a lot of interesting questions in the comments last time. Welcome to RS Music Television, new to the channel, and shout out to Pablo Velasco, a big fan. I also want to send a big shout out to Zed Moongia, and a shout out to all of Mexico, and another little shout out to Wendy Paz, who has been waiting for her shout out for quite a while. Next, I'll give a shout out to Maynora Costa and a big one to Alessandro FC, who asked for a greeting. I give a shout out to Nico, who requested one in the last video, and another to Mosmos, who I owed a shout out for a long time. And finally, I'm going to give a shout out to Ezekiel Martinez, who wanted a shout out. Another shout out to Lucas Lariera. Finally, a shout out to the legend Carlos Ramirez. Now, leave your, comment anything, really anything you want. Don't forget to share the channel and the video with your friends. So, is besos now, Senor Curiosity? Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss any new videos. I'm Senor Curiosity.